Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Pastor Goodman, PG, here at Tabernacle Baptist Church, and I'm excited to have a very special Unmuted podcast. Many of you know who follow our ministry know that Unmuted is an opportunity for us to kind of get some information out there, kind of do some innovative things, have some very interesting conversations. And so I'm excited today because not only is this month Heritage and Love Month, and we are celebrating our history. That's right. We are Black and we are proud. We're also going to have a very thought-provoking and conversation concerning a wonderful new initiative that our church is undertaking, which is our Legacy All for One capital campaign. We just came out with it to start the month of February. It's going to be a campaign that is going to encompass the next 2 years. And it's an opportunity for us to really invest in our legacy, a legacy which is built upon people and also built upon our ability to serve and to transform our communities. And so a lot of that happens through our facilities. Most people don't think about your facilities in that way, but your facilities are a major part of your ministry. It's not only where people gather for worship, but they also become the arm for discipleship. They become the arm for administration. And especially in our communities, Black communities, your church building, your church campuses means a lot. You know, you're coming from people who, for most of our existence, were denied access and did not have opportunities to own much land or buildings. And so that's why when you see in the Black church per se, that church building meant something. You know, they would do whatever is needed to make sure that that church building would be taken care of. I mean, I grew up in a time where my grandmother always said, and my granddad, man, God's house is going to be the best house. And so they took care of God's house, even sometimes to the place of detriment for their own house, because they understood the significance of what that church represented in their community and in their whole faith journey. And so as we've gotten older, churches kind of have morphed and evolved. You know, that's still a major part of Black church. And our tradition is our buildings, it's our campuses, because these are the place where people go, where we have an encounter with God, something special. Yes, you can meet God anywhere, and we absolutely acknowledge that. But it's something about that church home, something about where you gather and worship. So we just started our Legacy All for One capital campaign. And so I brought someone who is very intimately involved with our church, and it's going to help provide some insight about some of the intricacies, some of perhaps the unanswered questions concerning our Legacy All for One capital campaign. So I'm grateful to have with us today. He serves as the Executive Minister of Operations here at our church. The Reverend Michael Woods is in the building with us today. What's up, Reverend Woods? How you feeling, man?
Man, I am great.
Awesome, man. So glad to have you, man. He's buttoned down today, y'all. This is not typical of Reverend Woods. Typically, he's buttoned up with his tie and his suit on. Yeah, he's the corporate arm of the church. I'm the more laid back one. But today he said, "Man, Pastor, I'm gonna try to rock with you." And now he still got a suit on. Don't get it twisted. He just unbuttoned the top button and took the tie off and got the jacket off. He's still buttoned up, but he said, "You know what? I'm gonna be free." Like my pastor. So, man, Reverend Woods, thank you for coming and sharing.
Absolutely.
And
Yes,
I really appreciate you. You've been serving in this capacity as Executive Minister of Operations for a number of years now. We've been walking this journey together. I'm grateful for the partnership you and ministry. You helped us get through COVID. Who would ever thought you coming from Natural Steps, Arkansas,
There he goes, right
to help
there.
us
There he
here
goes.
in Augusta, and then even through the last, hurricane within the last 6 months. But we come to talk about this Legacy All for One capital campaign. And I'm excited. I'm grateful for this opportunity that we have to be able to leave a legacy. But I brought you on today because I also want to kind of answer some of the questions, because it's not just that we're raising money, because I think that could be, a misnomer for many people, especially in the economic times that we live in. And we try to be as sensitive as possible. But we also understand this weird tension of it takes money to do ministry, right? It takes money to handle things that are very important and significant, right? So you have to kind of carry that balance of making sure that we're stewarding stuff well and stewarding the resources that God gave us, but also trying to make sure that we're being as open and transparent with our congregation and our community about what we're seeing that money for. So,
Absolutely.
Reverend Woods is with us today because this has really been one of the masterminds about what has kind of brought us to this legacy all for one capital came. So, Reverend Woods, first of all, let's go back. Let's talk about this 10-year plan that we released on last year, that we really looked at from the nuts and bolts perspective concerning all of our facilities. Most people don't know, but we have 2.5 campuses, right? that half of North is going to be up this year, and I want that on record from Reverend Woods saying it. But I tab Main, I tab West, and then eventually I tab North, and so there's a lot of little things. But we came up with about a 10-year plan on last year. Can you just give us a brief synopsis of what that is, and then we'll kind of flow into what brought us to where we are and some of the wonderful opportunities God has graced us with to kind of maintain our legacy.
Yeah, absolutely, Pastor. And again, thank you for allowing me to be here. You know, this 10-year plan that we came up with came really off the cuff of looking at grants, right? Looking at capital grants, what we would call. Capital grants, really taking kind of a real assessment, kind of like you just said, like all of the buildings and campuses that we have, right? The 10-year project was really focused on our main campus building, which is, you know, it's almost 119 years old, right? It's just an old building.
Yeah.
And we've done our best, and I think TAB has done its very best and has done well to maintain the aging of the building, right? Buildings deteriorate, right, over time. And so that 10-year plan really came off the cuff of establishing a financial process where we can maintain that building. But I think what came out of that was the need to take an assessment of all of our buildings, right? So we're talking about, as you said, 2.5 campuses. But on our main campus, what people may not know is that we have actually 3 buildings, right? Not just our main campus building, but our Family Life Center, and then our Strauthers House. And then we've yet to construct, of course, you know, our Child Development Center. And then, of course, our West Campus that we're developing out. And then, as you said, bringing online our North Campus. So all of that means that if we're going to do impact ministry for a long time, thus the word legacy, then you're talking about how do you house ministry, right? What does that look like as senior pastors build out vision? What is the place, the physical place, right, that's going to house that ministry to have a long-lasting impact on the communities that they serve? So I know we're in a global space, right? But we're also in a localized space. And there's those localized spaces that's going to make a bigger impact on the people who are in the immediate communities. And buildings and edifices and capital projects and capital assets play a vital role in support of that. So the 10-year plan is really to address all of those issues holistically, right, so that TAB can have this rich, beautiful history, you know, and this legacy for down the road for many generations to come.
Yeah. I think that's also significant because it really helps us to maintain it for generations, to make sure that we are doing it. Because your facilities are important. They're a major investment for your church and your community, right? And it's always been our goal here at Tabernacle that we just don't have buildings and facilities so that we can worship. You know, a lot of it is through the work, the service arms of our church. And as you stated, it's not just church buildings, but we have our Family Life Center. We have our soon-to-be Louise B. Scott Preparatory Academy place. We got Strauthers House and other things that we have. And we also have to be honest about historically within the Black community, we oftentimes have got to kind of make things work with a limited budget, limited resources.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of that is systemic stuff that has happened throughout the years. We don't always have the greatest kind of bucket to pull from all the time. So it is a living miracle that God has graced our church to have as much as we've had, but with that comes stewardship responsibility. Before we move to the next one, that's why I think it's important when you say the 10-year plan, it also teaches us that it's a process.
Yes.
Building of our age and the multiple campuses that we have, these things that we're trying to accomplish cannot happen overnight. Right? Like
absolutely.
It's going to take some time. And so I'm grateful for the team and your work and your staff that's under you through operations. That's facilities. That's a whole lot of stuff that understands that maintenance and restoration is a process.
It's a process.
Y'all have taught that for me too, because there are things that I see like, man, why can't we get this changed, right? Because I see it and be like, well, Pastor, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do that. So it has really taught us this whole idea of being patient in the process to kind of get that done. But speaking about that, and as we kind of develop this 10-year plan, and my whole thing is I tell people, as much as I'm so grateful for 140, man, 150 gonna be off the chain when a lot of the things that we have put out is going to be finalized. Can you tell us, because part of the thing you said was this whole idea of grants. So as we unfolded this Legacy All for One campaign, I had some questions. People, you were like, okay, Pastor, we just raising money. Pastor, what are we, what exactly is taking place? I was like, well, you got to understand, and we shared this last year at our family gathering, which is our family conference. And we talked about how God has blessed the Tabernacle Church. We've been fortunate over the last year or so to be awarded grants that's going to help us to kind of mitigate some of the cost that is associated with restoration. We got a $25,000 grant that we're going to redo our chapel, our C.T. Walker Chapel, and I can't wait. That's going to be unveiled during our church anniversary month there in August. So we're already trying to get that together. But we also got an amazing grant from Sacred Places. I want you to, if you can, for the people who just don't know what it is, can you explain what Sacred Places and this grant, the amount and the significance of what it is for us as a Black church to receive this grant?
Absolutely, yeah. So Sacred Places is an organization that collectively and collaboratively with people, all actually ministries and churches and organizations all across the world that have put funds in a pot that fund capital projects for historical religious places. It's not just, they call it Sacred Places, so it's not just for the Christian faith, it's for all faiths, that they will consider that a sacred place, but of historical value, right? And Tabernacle was awarded a $250,000 capital grant to restore.
So that's $250,000.
$250,000.
And this is a grant that's all over the world?
That's a grant all over the world. However, it's a very prestigious grant because this is one of your top tier organizations that administer grants. It took us, this is our fourth year, trying to get this grant, and we just got it.
Yeah, it was a process,
right? It's
4 years.
A process, and we're only one of 3 Black churches across the nation, the world, let me rephrase that, the world that received this grant.
Say that again. So out of everybody, there's only 3 that are
only 3
demographically like us.
Yes, 3. When we went to our training in Philadelphia back in November, there were only 3 African American places of worship there to receive this year, and this year, what they call this year's cohort of 2024-25.
Wow.
We're the only ones.
So you went to Philly. So that was another thing. So it was a grant that also we had to go to the conference to learn more about it. Can you give just a brief thing about what the experience was like?
Absolutely.
And then we'll keep pressing forward.
Absolutely. Required. Let me just say to all the listeners, I did, take an Uber and pass by the Philly Stadium. Let me just go and put that out there.
There's a great team that's in Philadelphia.
There's a great team that's in
But
Philadelphia.
you didn't go there for that. But
I did not go there for that. I just
there's a great team.
I passed by it. It was on my left side. And I took a picture of it
right.
because I already knew.
You already knew.
I already knew.
And you sent me that picture. I appreciate that.
I already knew.
Yes.
So it was required that a team from our church to go to participate in this 3-day workshop. They gave you insight, not just on the application process that was completed, but what the expectations of that would be moving forward in order for us to meet all the criteria and requirements of this grant. And that meeting allowed us to collaborate with persons from the National Fund for Sacred Places, which is where the grant came from.
Yes.
They have architects, they have engineers, they have grant writers, they have administrators of facilities that allowed us to glean from them the process by which we're going to be engaging on this for the next 2 years. So it's a 2-year process. It's not overnight. It's not an easy process that we're going to have to go through, and it's extremely detailed.
Yes.
Right? And so that's why we've had to go there and spend that time with them in order to gain that information and bring back so that we can implement this 2-year program for our church.
Yeah. And also, and you're going to be hearing, so those of you in our congregation and community, we've slated for those who are part of this program and this wonderful organization, you're going to be hearing from them. I think our marketing multimedia team is already setting up a time for them to be interviewed so that they can speak from their perspective what this grant exactly is and their role in helping to shape and restore sacred places throughout the world.
Yes.
But with that being said, I think people may have missed what the number was. So the grant is $250,000.
$250,000.
Yeah. And when people say that, I'll never forget when we got it and we were telling people, this is where this is where legacy comes in, because it's not $250,000 free money.
It's not free.
You know, whenever you have a grant, you know, sometimes we hear grants and we think, oh, that's free money, right?
Yeah,
that's you ain't got no responsibility. No, this amazing grant that is a prestigious grant.
Absolutely.
That we're one of 3 African American churches in the entire world that was awarded it in the 2024-2025 cohort. There's caveat to it. It's what many would call a 2-to-1 grant. What does that mean, Pastor? 2-to-1 grant means that you have to raise $2 for every $1 that is awarded to you.
Absolutely.
So on one hand, it's really amazing. So you're hearing, man, we got $250,000, $250,000. That's amazing. And God be praised.
Yeah, amen.
But that also means that we got to raise $2 for every $1, which means for the $250,000, we have to raise $500,000.
That's it. And capital grants are extremely expensive projects anyway, right?
Yes.
Capital projects, extremely projects anyway. So this 2-to-1 is called a 2-to-1 matching grant. You're absolutely correct, right? In most capital grants, everything over $175,000 is a 2-to-1 match. Everything under is a 1-to-1 match. So had we gotten $175,000 and below, we would just simply had to raise
whatever
the
that money
$1
was.
to $1,
Gotcha.
right? But this is 2-to-1 capital grant. So the total amount collectively together would be $750,000, right? So that'd be $250,000 from National Fund for Sacred Places, and then $500,000, as you say, 2-to-1 match from Tabernacle Church, you know, and that in our supporting community. But that means that we can move forward then on our projects. Now we're going to be talking about that in just a second. But that's what that means, right? Yeah. A lot of grants that you might write or try to attain for your organization may not be a capital grant, which is why that misnomer for the matching funds may come in, right? For programming and ministries, very seldom will you come across a grant that's a matching grant.
Got you.
But capital projects cost so much money, right? It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And so then they want to be sure that every church organization that receives this grant money is prepared on the back end, right, to receive this money to support the project. Here's what they don't want. Okay, and I know you have this same philosophy for our ministry here, working off 100%, you know, of excellence, and that is this: they don't want a project to start and then fail.
I got you.
Because their name is on it.
The name is on it,
right?
Absolutely.
And so that's why it's this. They have this strict criteria.
Yeah.
Watch, we made it right after 3 tries, but we met the criteria, and I think that goes a lot to the just kind of where we've been over the last tenure with your team leadership here, and all of the galvanizing of information and collecting of information. And the intent to restore this church and this building, and I think is the main reason for why we got that right. Just being consistent with that, and just kind of seeing that all the way, that process all the way through. I think they were very, very convinced, and I will say this too: the team made a very positive and impactful statement when we did arrive in Philly, as being one of the few churches to do that, and we stuck out. Really, as a spirit of excellence from our journey there. So
that's
very
good.
impactful.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And so also, while we're also having this conversation, I know our team is going to put on a screen for people to connect and to also to help support, because not just for our congregation, but it also Sacred Places encourages community support.
Community important.
And we have amazing community partners that just want to sow and want to invest, because they recognize that a strong tabernacle, just as with other churches, strong churches, strong communities, strong cities, right? And so that's important as well.